Why was Arjun Shilpo was removed? Can somebody inform Arjun to basically rejoin again? I think there was some technical errors. Okay. So I defined some other loops. So int loop 1, loop 2, say, right? So just let's print, and oh yeah, I require something for this thing also. So int res. So this one will be a 2 comma 2, right? 2 comma. So let's print the thing for loop 1 is equal to, so this starts from 2. So it loop starts from 0. Loop 1 less than, so it's basically 2. Loop 1 plus plus. Okay, let's actually start. What are basically, I'm very familiar with this stuff. So for loop 2 is to 0, loop 2 less than 3, loop 2 plus plus. So printf, so percentage t space, I have to print num1, loop 1, loop 2, and I have printf. So let's see whether this one actually works or not. Slash. Again, I can start off with something different. So this is basically less than equal to 3. This one will be less than equal to 2, and this one will be 2. So let's have printf matrix 1 slash n matrix 2. So this is basically slash n. Okay, so let's see what it looks like. So GCC, let's see. So I think so we are all right? We are on the correct path. So right now I'm looking for a matrix multiplication. So what I require to do is basically I have to traverse through each of the elements for my matrix 1, and parallelly also basically I want to basically pass through each of the columns of each of my rows of matrix 2. So this one will be 4. Now for traversing my matrix 2, I'll be requiring 2 loops, right? And for my traversing of my each row of my, rather each column of my matrix 2, I require another loop. So I require 3 loops actually. So for loop 1 is to 0, loop 1 less than less than 2 loop 1 plus plus. Now for
Sir,
yes.
sir, probably there is someone waiting in the.
Okay. So for this one is this thing, then loop 2 will be less than 3, right? And my loop 2 plus plus. Then I'll be having another loop for loop 3 equals to 0. Now I require to basically go through each of the columns, right? So if I want to multiply it, my I'll be traversing through this element. So my each row, each column, and then my each column, each row, right? Each column with my each row. So my this row and my column number will actually remain same. If you remember your multiplication, right? Matrix multiplication. So another thing what I require to do is I want to initialize it, right? Because might actually create problems. You can see you had seen basically if I had not initialized, some garbage value would have come. So I require to initialize my this thing also. So this one 2, and so this is initialized. So it will be an addition part if you remember, right? Each will be addition. So loop 3 less than 2 now, and my loop 3 plus plus. My system will actually go something like this. Res. Now it will be basically my each loop 1 and loop 3. So my row and my each column, right? So this one will be loop 1, loop 2 plus equals to uh, num1 loop 1 loop 2 multiplied by loop 2 num2 loop 3. So why is this so? So if you actually remember this matrix multiplication, so basically say 1, 2, 3 multiplied by, and I have got 4, 6. Then I have got my other one, that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, right? So I require to do is basically 1 into 1. So my first row, first column with my first column, first row, right? So first column, first row, first column, plus it should be first row, second column, but my second row, first column, So my row and my column remains actually same. My row and my column remain same, which is actually why I have done this thing. You see, so my these two remain same. So this one is for my num1, this one is my num2. So rather actually look 3. Am I are you have you got this problem what I'm actually looking for? Hello. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Have you got this thing? Well, matrix multiplication is a very typical thing. It's it has a little bit of complexity, right? So let's see what it looks like. So let's see if I'm right or wrong. So 1 into 1 plus 6 plus 15. So 1 plus 6 is 7. 7 plus 15 is, I believe, so is 22, right? And then I have got 1. So 2 in 2 plus 8, that is 10, plus 18, that is 28. So I have got 22. Any problem over here? Any problem with this matrix multiplication?
স্যার এটার কমপ্লেক্সিটি আর কমানো যাবে না?
কমপ্লেক্সিটির ব্যাপারে এখন চিন্তা করিস না, আপাতত প্রবলেমটা বুঝিস নাকি? ঠিক আছে, ম্যাট্রিক্স মাল্টিপ্লিকেশন ইজ আ ভেরি টিপিক্যাল প্রবলেম। ওকে, সো দ্য থিং ইজ মানে এখানে আর কি ম্যাট্রিক্স এটাতে বেসিক্যালি ইউ ক্যানট বেসিক্যালি মানে দ্য ওয়ে অফ বেসিক্যালি ম্যাট্রিক্স মাল্টিপ্লিকেশন ইজ দ্য সেম থিং, but the problem starts is something where something different. If you're talking of complexity, let's say I have got matrix, I have got basically m1 multiplied by m2 multiplied by m3, right? So over here, how many actually multiplications do you require? Actually, let's see. How many multiplications do you require? For this problem, how many matrix multiplication? 1, 2, 3, right? 3 matrix multiplication requires. And for this first data, right? So can you tell me just from first data? Can you please hold a sec, please? Sorry for the interruption. Are there any questions? Okay, so the trick is that, so if I've got, let's take for example, this is basically, let's take for example, 2, 3, right? This is 3, 4, and this is 4, 5, right? Is that if you actually, but you cannot multiply this directly. So this is basically, you have to do it either M1 multiplied by M2 multiplied by M3, right? Or M1 multiplied by M2, then multiplied by M3. So can you tell how many multiplications, how many operations do I require for each of them? You will see that if you actually calculate, you will see that both these actually basically have different number of multiplications and additions. So operations are what? So what are my operations? Operations is equal to so if I only take only the multiplication operations, so only operations. So if you'll see that the total number of multiplication operations for both these, so if let's take mul and addition. So these are what we say as basically unit operations, right? So you'll see that both of these actually come to value the same. So the problem right now is actually the bracketing problem. So which are the matrices which are actually can be basically done? So this is a very typical problem in algorithms. See, if I have got, and this is not only a typical problem, it's a very, very practical problem, because you will see there are many softwares. One of the very non-peculiar one is basically your MATLAB or Octave. These two softwares are actually based on only on matrices. The whole algorithm and whole operations, everything is a matrix, right? So the trick is that, so if I've got about 10 or 12 matrices over there, so which of the two matrices do I actually basically bracket together and actually go on basically multiply? Right. So the trick is basically the bracketing part. So which two I have to basically done, and then which are the results? So do I actually basically multiply two together? If I've got 4 multipliers, so if I've got 4, the problem gets much more complex if I do actually 4. So basically, let's take for example, I've got 1, M1, M2, M3, M4. So you can see the total number of combinations if you actually see. So this is 1. So this is again 1, right? Then this is also 1. So you see, there are many number of combinations. So the thing is that which combination gives me the least number of operations? So which actually makes it faster. So whatever complexity you're talking of, the complexity actually arises over here, but the matrix multiplication, the method remains the same. That cannot basically minimize it. But where the minimization comes over here, that the complexity, so the number of operations you actually do this way and this way, you will actually see the total number of operations required are basically different. But this is I'm talking of if the matrices are of uneven sizes. If they're even sizes, obviously, then you won't have any problems. But if you have got uneven sizes, something like this, then the whole story actually basically differs. Okay. So that if anybody is talking of complexity, the complexity of matrix multiplication. Okay. So my thing is right now, now I want to basically for this thing, now what I want to do, I want to actually basically multiply. I want to make a function which actually basically creates which actually basically has I want to create a function which actually multiplies these two matrices. So what I require to do, I require to pass these two matrices, and I want to return these two matrices, return the result of these two matrices. So as we already know, that this thing that that when I'm going to pass arrays, I have to actually pass it by reference. It's a call by reference problem, right? So the thing is that when I want to pass a two-dimensional array, the problem, rather a multi-dimensional array, it becomes a problem which is not related with just passing the address, right? So if I actually basically I just refer to a book. So so this you can actually, so this is basically where this is where the this is about this book only. So about the Ritchie's book. So but he says that, so if I have got these two sorts of matrices, right? So what I'll be doing is basically I'll be creating a pointer array of pointers. So this is basically, this means that this is basically an array of pointers. So previously what, when we had discussed about passing a pointer or address location of a one-dimensional array, so I had only taken it as an address, so it was only one pointer, right? Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to basically pass it as an array of pointers. So my array of pointers will actually become, so this A34 and B34, they are both syntactically legal references to a single int. Okay, but A is the true dimensional array. So this is the true dimensional array, and the conventional and the total and the conventional rectangular subscript calculation. So this is my total this thing to find the basically the element of row, right? So to
Sir,
find the basic, yes,
sir, if it is a pointer of array of pointer, so then each of that boxes, like if he considers boxes, it would contain the addresses of a particular value.
yeah. So basically, yeah,
Sir,
this is what it will actually do. If we
okay.
actually, if I'll just show you this thing. So let's say it's basically a character, right? Right. This is what we say as basically. This is what we say as what do you say? This is not an irregular dimensional array, right? So what is? Let's see another thing. Okay. So let's say this is my array, right? So this is the array of pointers, right? So this each one. So my name, the first one will actually, it's an pointers which actually points to another array. So what is this array? This array is basically in a set of characters. So the first 0, pointer name 0, will actually have only these elements. Whereas name pointer 1 will actually only have this set of elements. Whereas name pointer 2 will have Feb, and so on. And so on. Right. So what I'm going to do is basically this becomes my main one. And this is a, you can think of this is basically A. You can actually imagine that I have got 20 arrays, right? So over here I'll be having 20 arrays, and this 10 with, sorry, I'll be having, 10 arrays. Sorry, I'll be having 10 arrays, which each array will contain 20 elements, right? So I'll be having 10 arrays, each having 20 elements, and the address of each array will be kept in a pointer of. Okay. Any problem? Any problem over here? Okay. The other way is actually thinking of it as the writing of something like a pointer to a pointer. Right. So this is basically, as if you remember your first day when when we were discussing basically what are the ways of. Basically, I actually pass a set of pointers, an array of pointers. Another way is basically as having a pointer to a pointer. So a pointer to a pointer can also be something like basically, so a pointer to a pointer, when I say a pointer to a pointer, that means it points to another array which contains a set of array, which is itself a set of arrays. Okay. Hello. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So
Yes, sir.
there are two ways of interpreting this one. So one, I have got a pointer of an array. Another way is that there is another variable that is basically a pointer to a pointer, which states that it actually has it points to a array of pointers. So there are two ways of basically working with this thing, right? So let's take one by one at a time. Let's take one at a time. So I'll be having, and so I'll be returning a pointer. I'll be returning a pointer like mat mal, which takes in an integer pointer. It takes two integer pointers, right? So it takes two integer pointers. So so basically array 1, right? I do not know the size. So if I do not know the size, I have to take basically two things again. So again, I'll be taking an integer, another pointer. So integer pointer AR2. The size of I do not know. Now I require to basically set the size. So the first one is basically, so int AR1 row, then int AR1 column, and I also my my columns, but row and columns. So my columns and my row will be same for my AR2. So I just only require to basically pass int AR2 column. That is all what I require to pass. So I have to basically now since I do not know that how many rows, and since this is the pointers, okay, so it's basically I'm looking through addresses. So I have to mention right now what I have to do. Okay, so there is another way down. That is basically I'll come to that later on. So let's see this one first. So let's see.
Sir.
Yes. Okay, there's another thing which I require to do. I require to basically pass my the result also, right? Which I require to basically pass out. So integer, I require to pass a pointer of res, right? Well, I actually pass it. So if I do pass it out, then actually I don't require to basically, it can be enter void. Okay, so I don't require to pass it. So I just require to pass it, but I don't require to basically, this can be simpler void. So I'm just basically, since it's basically I'm just passing an address, so it's already basically having that whole stuff over there. So I just Control C, rather Control there was some question. So what was the question about?
Sir, when we are defining the function, in the
Yes.
function, so then it should be the type, that means void, and then it will be the function name.
No, I do not require to
Can
basically.
we write the function name as a pointer?
So sorry, sir. My mistake. No mistake, sorry. No mistake. Okay, it's all right.
Okay, sir. Yes, sir.
Actually, we will be coming to something called a word pointer. You will have something like word pointer. So this is basically int loop 1. I'll be having loop 2, loop 3, right? And this one will be,
Sir,
yes.
sir, I had one question. Sir, we are returning a pointer of
I'm
that
not returning
array.
anything. I'm not returning anything.
Okay. So I'm just doing a call by reference.
Yeah, I'm just doing a callback. That is all what I'm doing.
Okay. Sir.
So this one will be AR1 row, right? This one will be AR1 call, and this one will be AR2 call. Right? Any problem over here? Okay, now I basically want to pass this function. So how do I do this thing? Right? So this one will be mat mal. What I require to pass is something like this. So I require array. So how do I actually pass this array? I'll be calling in something like this, and okay, let's see. So the first one what I'm looking for is basically AR1. So I'll be passing the address value of A. Sorry, it will be basically num1 0, this thing, then address of num2 0, right? Then address of result, right? What is the result one? Res. The first one. Then I'll be passing the AR1 row, AR. So this is basically AR1 row is 2, 3, 2, which I require to pass. I hope I'm right. Okay, let's see what it looks like. Okay, there is a problem num2. Oh, sorry, this one I haven't changed over here. So this one I haven't changed over here. So this is basically one AR1 AR2 and then it's separate. And what I require to do is basically address. So I just require to pass let's see if this works. So I have got some warnings, right? So compatible point is incompatible point. So I'm looking for an integer pointer to a pointer, but unfortunately, basically, it's giving me this thing. Num2.
Sir,
Yes.
so instead of putting an and, you can put int star, then the name only. Like
Int star.
yes, sir.
Which
In
one?
star
This one?
num1. No, sir.
Which line?
In the calling one, in the main.
The star is basically the pointer, so I have to
Yes.
I have to basically pass an address.
Yes, sir. During our lab assignments, we were asked to do something like this. So the same thing was coming to me, like it cannot convert. So I, instead of and ampersand, I used that in star num1. It was coming then.
In star.
Yes,
Which
sir.
line you're talking about? Which line
Sir,
number you talking?
in which we are calling the function in main, like matmal
Yeah, yeah.
ampersand. You have given ampersand num1 0, then ampersand num2 0, ampersand raise 0.
I can even okay, I can even do this something like this. So I'll just pass the first one. This thing is also still there is some warnings. So there is still some warnings.
So once can you scroll up, please?
Yeah.
So in array one, it can means it also should be two-dimensional. Means when it is receiving set by call by reference.
I'm passing an array pointer of an array. I'm passing a pointer of an array. So actually, technically, I should be passing a basically pointer to a pointer. So array of pointers basically is a pointer to a pointer, right? So there are two ways. This is actually a warning. Okay, this will work. It's not that it's not going to work. So I am going to pass an address num2. It's not an error. Okay, let's see what it actually looks like. So there is a segmentation. So I'll be having problems like this. So due to these basically warnings, so since they are incompatible ones, so I will be basically okay. So let's see if I actually pass a pointer to pointer. Okay. So since they are actually basically so insistent on actually passing this thing, so let's do it, right? So since they're so insistent, num0, so this one will be a num address of num what it looks like. What's the problem here? Just
Sir,
yes.
so can I show what I did for a similar program like this?
Yeah, why not? Go ahead.
So can I present my screen?
Yeah, you can present your screen.
Yes, sir. Like in this one, I have sent the pointer of the first, and while calling it, I have just Did it like this?
Can you just increase the font size? Can you just increase the size?
And zooming in. Okay.
Yeah, I can zoom it up. Okay, you are actually passing the integer pointer. Okay,
Yes, sir.
that is
And
okay.
Sir,
That is also one way out. I won't say that
and
is
this one.
wrong. That is
sir,
also one way out.
instead
Yeah.
of writing integer pointer, instead of writing the integer pointer, if we write only the name of that array, it should part, because the array itself is a pointer to its first element.
Mm-hmm. Well, you can do that. I'm not arguing with that. You cannot do that. The thing is that. Mm,
Sir, we can do also another thing, like for the second time you did know that star star array.
mm-hmm.
Sir, for that, if it is C99 compiler, then it will take star star array, and in case of calling it, if we only had to write that array name.
So you're saying so something like this.
Sir,
Okay. Let's see.
I am just showing. I just searched on the net earlier that this week. Yes, sir, but it is only taking if it is C99 compatible. Like my one is
Huh?
not so. Sir, it is only doing so means that it is taking that type of star
If
star
it is
array.
only yes, that the problem is that
Yes, sir.
if it is only basically C99 compatible, then there are
Yes,
many
sir.
ways, out, right?
Yes, sir.
But
But
I
my
have
one
seen
is
that
not, so I couldn't do that.
it's not a C99 compatible.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. My one is
So
the same problem. Also.
yeah, so let's take for example, if I actually do this thing. So whatever you are actually saying, so this is basically GCC minus STD is equal to C99. Then uh, not mark. So there is still a problem with this thing. So it's looking for a pointer to a pointer. Okay, since I'm not going for sorry, this is basically so I don't want to pass a pointer to a pointer. I array pass an array of a pointer. So expected pointer to pointer what are these? হ্যাঁ রে সুমিত বল Okay, so where we were having some hiccups over here. So I passed this thing. Yeah. So this was basically a warning point with incompatible pointer expected a pointer, but the argument is basically a pointer 3. Okay. So I'm actually looking at okay. Okay. So actually, this is the only way out which can be found. So I have to pass basically an integer. It's basically an area of a point to pass it as. So what I've done is basically I've just masked it like this. So this one will actually then come to something like this. Oops. Where is the segmentation fault? Why there is a segmentation fault? The segmentation fault will actually arise due to the fact that I'm trying to access some array locations, which is not correct, right?
Sir,
Yes.
so in the array signature, in the function signature,
Mhm.
instead of putting that third, can you remove the third bracket, and for this functioning, like when we're doing the functions, can you put it in the form of an pointer, like
You want to talk of basically pointer to a pointer, right?
yes sir, yes sir,
Yes, you can put it. You can put it. That is not a big issue.
like instead of
So,
doing like loop 1
so
loop
I'm
2.
actually basically forcing it to be something like this. You're saying to be something like this. But then the signatures remain the same. So the pointer to an pointer and a pointer of an arrays, that actually is the same signature. That means the same stuff.
Okay sir.
That is the same stuff. Okay. So the problem over here is not about basically passing the pointer to a pointer, but over here there is some problem with this thing where I'm trying to basically access a variable, access a location, which I'm not basically having it. Right. So what should be the problem over here? Okay, let's see one thing, whether my uh, completed matrix multiplication. So this is basically what I'm trying to debug my system where it was a problem, because since this is a logical error, I don't have any other way to basically there is some other way, that is what we say as the GDB, that is the GNU debugger, but this is the very one way of naive way of basically debugging your system. So I just want to see whether it is actually working on. If there is a problem over here only, if there is a segmentation fault, so this won't print out. Okay, so that means the problem lies over here, inside over here. So what can be the problem? AR1 because it did work for my other stuff. So where was the problem? AR1 colon AR2. Okay. Okay, so let's say that percentage D. So I'll be passing res right. And so let's see what was the problem like this one. So I'll just print out the whole my stuff. Okay. So there is a problem with my res only, I believe so. AR1, AR2. So where was the mistake?
Sir, can you please try my method? Sir, can you please try my method?
Yeah, what?
Sir, what I just said, no. Can you please try it in that way?
Which one?
Sir, I shared my screen and I showed.
So it was basically array of pointers, right?
Yes, sir.
So you're looking for this thing.
No, sir. We don't have to put that third bracket. It will take automatically.
This one?
Yes, sir. And in the function call statement, yes, sir, remove it. So in the function call statement, yes, sir, it would be only int star. In this method, my function means my program was running perfectly.
Okay. So you will have a problem over here. This is a total error.
Yes, sir. It will all not work because it not on pointer to 2D array. And when we will write in the function that result loop 1 and loop 2, the two-dimensional will not work.
Yes, I have to.
It will not?
Yes, sir. No, sir. No, sir. In the function only. In the
Okay.
function, sir.
In the function what?
Yes, sir.
Sir, in line number 11,
Yes, sir.
we are writing result matrix of loop 1 and loop 3, but
Yeah.
we are using result as an pointer,
Yeah.
so the second element will not work. I think
Yes, sir. We have to
that
access
loop
each
3.
element as a pointer only. Means we have to write res in brackets. It will be loop 1, so it will be.
Then it will be very tough.
AR1. So it will be AR1 row into loop 1 plus loop 3.
Okay, you are going for basically the looking for the what do you say? You're looking for the basically the what do you say? Your pointer arithmetic part.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I do not want to get into pointer arithmetic right now.
Okay, sir.
I do not want to get into pointer. So let's try to fix out another way out. Fix out another way out.
I just say in the internet, I also searched for another way, and it was showing that double star. In that way,
Look, if you're looking for the internet for any solutions, most of them will actually give you the solutions to your for this thing, for your what do you say?
Sir, if we have to use that loop 1, loop 3 in this format, then it means our compiler will not take in that way.
Yes.
Our compiler means what that an article said that our compiler, that is a low-end compiler can't take it in that way when we pass it as a pointer.
I know that it's not going to take it as a lower compiler. The lower compiler won't take something like that. So that's why I'm not going into that part. I know that lower compiler we won't take it. So what is the way out? What is the way out? What is the way out, my dear? Please hold a second. So what is the problem over here? Array of pointers. It's going to have a segmentation fault. It's going to have a segmentation fault. So my grammar is already over here. But thing is that how I'm actually accessing the loop, that is the problem. It's all about how I'm going to access my loop. Okay. Just hold this, please. Okay, so where were we? We were having problems over here, right? We were having problems over here. So, mm, okay, let's do one thing. Let's see if I can actually access the numbers. Okay, let's see this thing. So it's a very simple thing. Can I access the numbers also? So if I can access the numbers, then I will be knowing for sure that uh, printf percentage d, comma. Okay. So there might be a problem that my res basically I'm not able to access. So let's see where actually it leads to. Okay, so there is a segmentation fault over here. So how do we actually come out of this thing? So I'm looking for an array pointer. Okay, it seems that today I'm stuck with this thing, right? We'll try to solve this on the next day. There's a little bit stucking over here. Are there any suggestions for trying to solve this thing? Hello?
Arithmetic, sir.
Huh? I want to pass an
Pointer.
array of pointers. I want to pass an array of pointers.
Yes, sir. Then
Right.
pointer
So-
arithmetic. We have to use pointer arithmetic.
There has been no problem over here, right?
Yes, sir.
So one can actually pass something like this also. So this one is also possible. So I'm passing an address. So you will see that there is no problem over here. Wait. Okay, so let's take. I'm passing a pointer to a pointer. Then actually I'm basically sending a pointer to a pointer. So my grammar is also right over here, because if my grammar is not right, then I'll be having errors over there. So my grammar is right. So the accessing of basically my problem is basically accessing of these two elements. Mm. Okay, we'll just basically stick it over here today only. That I'm stuck over here. I'll get back to this later on. Okay, next class I'll get back to this thing. I'll start from here. Okay, chalo fir.
Okay, sir.
Okay.